All right, if you found yourself here, that means that you are looking for some extra math to work on. So I will post a picture of the worksheet that I'm going to be working off of, but what this extra stuff is going to be is fractions. So I know right now there are no assignments that include fractions on our alternate learning schedule. So this is all optional. It's just for extra skills, skill building. So everything that we're going to be doing in the video is things that we've already done in class. I just don't want us to lose those skills for when we come back or for when we go to 5th grade. So what you'll be looking at is if you want to work off of the sheet that I posted on Google Classroom, you can, or I'm going to be showing each one as we go. So basically, we're just going to be breaking down a bunch of different skills with one fraction of the day. So our fraction of the day for today is 2/3. So somewhere on your paper, you can write 2/3 down because that's going to be the number we're going to be using today. So if you're using a loose leaf sheet of paper, you can get a fresh sheet because we're going to be doing a lot of different things with it. So the first thing that they want you to do is use repeated addition to show how to multiply the fraction of the day by 3. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. 3 times 2/3. So we had just finished doing that in class. So what that is repeated addition, right? It's 3 times 2/3. So I'm going to take 2/3 plus 2/3 plus 2/3. So my denominators are the same. And now all I have to do is add the top numbers because the denominator will stay the same across when we add fractions. So it stays a 3. And then 2 plus 2 plus 2, or 3 times 2, is 6. So you get 6/3. All right, the next thing they want you to do, and I changed this because I want us to draw a tape diagram of what this would look like. So remember, the whole is the total for 1. Since this fraction is less than 1, it's going to be for 1. So I'm going to draw my tape diagram. So on your paper, you can draw your tape diagram like that. I'm going to show that it equals 1, like this. And then I'm going to break it apart. So I know that the denominator is how many parts of the whole that it is. So that's 3, how many total parts we have, and it's 3. And then the 2, the numerator tells me how many I need to shade in. So I'm going to shade in 2. So I get 2/3. All right, the next thing that they want you to do is subtract the fraction of the day from 5/3. So I'm going to write 5/3 minus 2/3. Like that. So I know that when I subtract, the denominators are the same. So I'm able to subtract that. Oh, my camera's falling. Oh, no, don't lose me. Ah, no. Okay, woo, back. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 5/3 minus 2/3. My denominators are the same, so I can subtract 5 minus 2 is 3. And then my denominator stays the same, so it's 3/3. So we know that when it's the top on the same thing on the top and the bottom, it equals 1. So I'm going to write equals 1 there. The next thing they want you to do is add the fraction of the day to 4/3. So I'm going to write 2/3 plus 4/3. And I can do that because my denominators are the same. And I just add the top. So I'm going to get 6/3. Now we just left off on this when we left the classroom last couple weeks ago. So this is where I need, and I didn't do it up here but because I knew it was going to be right here, but I'm going to change 6/3 to a whole number. So what times 3 gets me closest to 6 without going over? 2. So there are 2 holes in that one. So that answer was 2. 6/3 is the same as 2. All right, the next thing they want you to do is solve the problem below. 2 times something gives you 2/3. So I know that I'm going to multiply my top number. So how to get 2, it's going to be 1. And then my denominator needs to stay the same. So I know that it's 1/3 times 2 gives me 2/3. The next thing they want you to do is decompose the fraction into unit fractions. So we know that unit fractions are the denominator, so 3 over 1. And we know there, if we look up at my tape diagram, there are 2. So the unit fractions for this one is going to be 1/3 plus 1/3. That's how you decompose into unit fractions. We're going to skip the compare bubble for today. We're going to model it though on a number line, So I'm going to need to break my number line into thirds. So I'm going to break it into thirds. So I know that the first spot should be 0/3, like this, 0/3. And my last spot should be 3/3 because that's 1. So now I need to break it up just like I did up here into thirds. So here is 1/3, here is 2/3, and there is my 3/3. I already have it. So those aren't perfect, but you get the gist of what you're supposed to do. All right, so the next thing at the bottom is adding, and I wrote that out so it's a little sloppy, but you're gonna add, my sun is shining, 2/3 plus 4/9. So I know that when I add, actually, here we'll save some time. We'll do them together. So we'll do this one first and we'll make it into ninths. So what this questions are asking to do is write 2 equivalent fractions that show how you found their equivalents. So you want to write equivalent fractions. So where you need to change, when you add fractions, the denominator needs to be the same. So what we're going to do is we're just going to add, I love that the sun is out, but it's making it hard to see our paper. But we need to add the fractions, the denominator needs to be the same. So I'm going to change one of them over here to ninths, so that way I don't have to change them twice. Okay, so I'm going to take 2/3, and then to find an equivalent fraction, remember, whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. You have to multiply it by the same number. So what times 3 gives you 9? And that's going to be 3. So whatever you do to the bottom, you got to do to the top. So I'm going to take the top times 3. So 2 times 3 is 6, and 3 times 3 is 9. So we got 6/9. That's how they're the same. So we'll quickly just do another equivalent fraction, and then we'll solve over here. So 2/3 times something gives me an equivalent fraction. So this time, let's use 4. So I'm going to do 2/3 times 4/4. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 3 times 4 is 12. So I get 8/12. All right, so now we're going to add these two over here. So we just changed 2/3 to 6/9. So we're going to use that right here. So we're going to do 6/9 plus 4/9, because when I'm adding fractions, the denominator has to be the same. So 6/9 plus 4/9 is 10/9. So I can't leave it like that because there's more on top than bottom. So I have to think about what times 9 is going to get me closest to 10 without going over. That's going to be my whole number. So that's 1, right? So that's 9/9 is 1. And then whatever's left over is what's going to be my other part of the fraction. So 10 minus 9 is 1/9. Like that. There's my number bond. And so now I'm going to write it as a mixed number. So 1 and 1/9. So that's my answer to that problem. All right, so I know I went through that quickly because I didn't want to make this video super long. So as you were going, I hope you were pausing and writing down the questions. Okay, so I'm going to try to do these as much as possible just to keep up our fraction skills. All right, so if you have any questions about fractions, again, please message me on Dojo, reach out on Google Classroom. I'm more than happy to set up a time that we can meet and talk about it. All right, have a good day.